less fortunate. Please help us to help others with the KBLA Cover the Houseless Cozy Community Coat and Blanket Drive. All you have to do is drop off new or clean, gently used winter coats and blankets in the KBLA lobby during business hours, now through December 20th. All of the coats and blankets will be donated to unsheltered individuals and families experiencing houselessness. Simply bring your donation to 4434 Crenshaw Boulevard in Los Angeles, near Vernon Avenue, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays. That's 4434 Crenshaw in historic Leimert Park. During the holidays and every day, let's remember, we keep us safe. We keep us warm. We are the safety net, and together we can cover the unsheltered. Get caught up in the spirit of the season, the spirit of love. Make a difference with your friends at KBLA Talk 1580.
My mind, I need to get out of sight, but I end up behind bars. What started out as a simple altercation turns into a real sticky situation. Me just thinking on the time that I'm facing makes me wanna cry. 'Cause I didn't mean to hurt him. Could have been somebody's son, and I took his heart with that gun. Rum pa pa bum, rum pa pa bum, rum pa pa bum. Man down, rum pa pa bum, rum pa pa bum, rum pa pa bum. Man down.
Welcome in. Happy Wednesday. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. This, of course, is the show where we hit all the trending topics across entertainment, sports, lifestyle, and culture. I'm your host, Jill Munroe, and like the station says, we have a lot to talk about on this Thanksgiving Eve. I hope you are chilling, maybe have a libation or two, a snack. Are you fasting? Are you getting your stomach all prepared for tomorrow? I do have a question. We'll get to it a little later. I want to know, do you do breakfast snack on Thanksgiving Day, or do you kind of eat your meals as normal? We'll get into that a little bit later. At any rate, we have so much to get into tonight, the night before Thanksgiving. So everybody's all relaxed, no work tomorrow. So, you can stay up a little later with us here on RSVP tonight. So, of course, if you aren't already, make sure that you are following us across all social media, KBLA 1580. Hit me up at Stiletto Jill. Download the app so you can, tomorrow listen at your leisure. Also, take down the phone number, 800-920-1580, because you might want to pop in with an opinion or two. I feel like you might, because we have a lot on deck for this Wednesday night. So let me give you a rundown. Today, I don't know if you've been paying attention. I mean, really, we should just call this the blotter episode of RSVP. But we're going to call it Law and Order RSVP, because we are going to get into the I don't even know how many additional cases were filed today in New York. Several lawsuits that were filed under the Adult Survivors Act, a New York law that allows alleged sex abuse victims whose claims are past the statute of limitations to file a civil suit. The end of that period, that 1 year period that began last year of 2022, November 22nd, I believe it was, of 2022, comes to a close tomorrow, November 23rd. And because of that, there have been a number of cases that are filed. So we're going to take a look at them, look at some of the filings, some of the accusations, and get into why this law was created. In hour two, we're going to get into Indianapolis Colts owner. Let's slow down and run it back. Indianapolis Colts owner Jim Irsay. He had a recent interview where he talked about his 2014 DUI arrest, and he says that it was because of prejudice that he was arrested, because he's a white, rich billionaire. We're also going to get into his response to some media analysts' comments about that, and his declarations that, his black mother would put some of these people in hot water. Oh, by the way, Jim is not biracial. So, yeah, we're going to get into all of that. And then we're also going to get into a conversation, I guess, of sorts of media ethics later on. Joe Budden recently discussed why he decided to edit comments that he had regarding some of the cases that have come up over the past couple of days. And, is it smart business? Is it fair to expect a commentary or a comment on every single case? Do we, are we allowed to, I guess, reserve comment if it involves someone that we have a business relationship with or a friendship with? Not when someone's convicted, but just accused. We'll get into all of that. And of course, there's some conversation starters that we have to get the night started off. First of all, have you ever got scolded at an NBA game by a team's coach on the mic because you were just being a good fan? That's what happened tonight in San Antonio. The Clippers were facing off against the San Antonio Spurs. Kawhi Leonard, that's his former team. And when he was at the free throw line, San Antonio fans were letting him have it, even though he was a great part of the San Antonio Spurs legacy. Greg Popovich went and grabbed the mic and told the crowd to stop it, chastise them. Is that appropriate for a coach to do in the middle of a game? Is that tech worthy? Is it good that he's protecting a former player that I'm assuming, had a good relationship with, although there were rumors on the way out? Or is Popovich just still hanging on to those old-time values and he needs to cool it and just coach the game? I don't know. It certainly was an interesting sight to see. We'll talk about that a little further later. Listen, like I said, we have a great deal to get into tonight. Later on, we will be having, it's Wednesday, so our Keep It Real friend, Trent Jackson, Trent the Artist, will be joining us. And there are some other topics that we're going to get into later, but I'll let you know about those on the other side. In the meantime, you're locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward. Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Thea Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chucha's opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chucha's Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Are you ready for Law and Order RSVP tonight? That's what we got going on. There are so many. There it is. Yeah, we're going to be hitting that a lot tonight because that's what it feels like. I feel like we are in a supersized episode of Law and Order. I'm not even going to get into the other conversation starters because literally there are so many cases that have come down today. And again, November 23rd is the end of the New York Supreme Court's under the New York Supreme Court's. The law is the Adult Survivors Act, and it extended the time frame for sexual abuse victims to file civil suits, basically, and it was for a 1-year period. There is a chance that it could be extended or reactivated later, but right now, as it stands, it ends tomorrow. So that's why you have seen this onslaught of civil suits being filed. Sorry for all the ums. Listen, it's not the Cassie aftermath. Although, I'm sure Cassie encouraged some women. You can't just file a lawsuit that quickly. But let me run down some of the names that you may know. Some may be new to you that have come out either today or over the last few days. So obviously we know about Diddy and Cassie. That has been, filed and then settled and then dismissed. But also down the pike this afternoon, Jamie Foxx, Cuba Gooding Jr., 2 for him, Axl Rose, who is the former lead singer of Guns N' Roses, Donald Trump, again, Bill Cosby, again, former NFL star Marcellus Wiley, former head of Interscope, Jimmy Iovine, Doug Morris, who was the chairman of what was Doug? I can't remember which one of the big label conglomerates Doug Morris was the head of. L.A. Reid, Russell Simmons, Russell Brand, Marilyn Manson, Harve Pierre, who was the former head of Bad Boy Entertainment, and on and on and on, right? So we're going to go through the cases, some of the allegations, and, give you a bit of information about them and see what we can piece together, right? So in late 22 in California, there was a crush of cases filed because there was a 3-year window that allowed child sexual assault survivors to sue their abusers. There is also conversation that potentially in California there will be something similar to New York's Adult Survivors Act, so we could see something like that happen here. According to New York State court data, there have been 2,700 cases filed under the act and about 1,200 in the state Supreme Court, 1,500 in the Court of Claims. And I think they said as of November 16th, respectfully, right? That's a lot of cases. That's a lot of questionable behavior. And, there obviously are a lot of strong reactions to so many filings happening, about the time frame of those filings, much like with before. And it will just be interesting to see how it all unfolds, right? So, what also should be known is that once the window closes, it's not necessarily the end of older sexual assault claims being pursued, right? The New York City Council in 2000 enacted the Victims of Gender Motivated Violence Protection Act to resolve the difficulty that victims face in seeking court remedies for civil suits and the such in the state of New York. So there are still other resources that people can utilize should they not have been able to get things in under this particular window, right? The California Sexual Abuse and Cover Up Accountability Act, which is going to open a 3-year window, and it will suspend the state statute of limitations for certain sexual assault cases. That is going to open up soon, and it will be taking cases under that law until December 31st, 2026. So, again, there's a lot happening, a lot of corrections, perhaps, to past wrongs, or at least an opportunity to examine them, right? And go back through these things. For New York, 2019 was when the state extended their 10-year statute of limitations for their civil suits by adult survivors. And the new law was enacted January 1st, 2023. So it's to help the gap for the victims. For California legislation, it only covers acts that occurred between January 2009 to January 2019. But they expect that they will see more claims, and this is from, I should say, this statement, the expectation of seeing more claims filed is from Cassie's lawyer in this suit. He says that with the window happening, they expect to see more claims against music industry and entertainment world in general. And he said, it is my hope that other states adopt similar legislation. So, oof. Welcome in, Trent the artist. How are you? Trent Jackson.
I'm doing great.
You're doing great?
I'm doing amazing. How about you?
You just taking it all in?
That's a lot. But, this is the season. We already knew that earlier this year, just by the way that things were going, that a lot of people and things were being exposed.
2023 is going out with a bang.
It's the year of exposure. So, this is not it. What did they say in entertainment? It's not over till the fat lady sings. She hasn't sung yet. This is not it.
Now, let me ask you this, right? Because some of these cases are, 20, 30 years old. It's not as if we haven't seen that before, but what are your feelings surrounding that?
Because victims are often victimized when they come forward. People don't want to come forward to tell their stories. A lot of the times there's intimidation, retaliation, gang stalking, blackmailing. The list goes on. There's so many things that come in play with just reporting or telling your story and coming forward. So it's much easier just to put your head in, blend in and just try to cope. And all it takes really is one person.
But from a legal perspective, do you think that, because over 20 years, evidence is not secured, obviously not locked down.
Well, you never know. People sometimes they have receipts.
Sometimes they do have receipts, but just in general, it's not a chain of evidence. There's so many things with it. I know that in a lot of these instances, there's civil suits and not criminal suits. So, it comes down to being punitive and about the money, which is fine. That's not the problem.
Well, here's the thing.
Do you think you can truly get a fair trial under those circumstances?
Yes and no. It just really depends on your credibility, how much evidence you bring forth or retain. But you have to think about it from a victim's perspective. If somebody's being blackmailed and stalked and iced out and can't get a job, that adds up over
Correct.
20, 30 years. You can't get a job nowhere. You know, sleeping on somebody's couch, whatever the case is, like somebody has to pay for that at some point, you know,
Facts.
and you know, you get this mindset. I went through all this emotional damage and how it derailed my life. I need to be compensated for that. And it's not really a money grab at that point. It's like, you ruined my life. And I was just trying to sing a song.
Okay, so let's run down some of the cases, right?
Yes.
So former Bad Boy president Harve Pierre, right? He was featured a lot on Making the Band back in the day. His ex-assistant claims that he used his position of authority as her boss to groom, exploit, and sexually assault her. So he's accused of first of all, Harve and Diddy met at Howard back in the day. They were both students
They're friends.
there.
Yeah.
They're friends. He worked with Bad Boy, left for a time period, came back. He's no longer with Bad Boy, hasn't been for quite some time, but refers to himself as, I guess they said, a part owner or something. Original owner, something around that key. It's a Jane Doe that has filed the suit, and she said on multiple occasions in New York and other locations around the country that he used his position of authority as her boss to groom her, assault her, that he engaged in a year-long pattern of allegedly, of grooming leading to sexual harassment and sexual assault. She alleges that she suffered physical, emotional, and psychological damages along with pain and suffering. She's asking for damages that will willfully and fairly compensate her. He has not replied as of yet. As of the time I went on air, maybe he has, but I had not found comment from that. They also named Bad Boy Entertainment and Bad Boy Records, which are kind of two separate entities, and Combs Enterprises, which is Diddy's parent company, as co-defendants. And it accused the companies of negligence and gender violence, and that they should have known that Pierre was unfit to be in a position of authority before he had assaulted her. And it also claims that the company failed to properly supervise, especially considering his access to individuals like the plaintiff. I don't know. That's a lot. Like, how far is your job responsible for your behavior? And how much do you realistically expect them to know? Like, if you are a hothead, should it be reasonable to assume that you are beating someone up when you're off company time?
When you start using company assets or your company position to commingle into your personal life, that's when it becomes a liability.
But don't we all? But and I mean, seriously, don't we all do that? Especially in a position like that. I mean, I'm not talking about
okay, for
coercing
instance,
the women or whatever. But if you go out to dinner with someone that you have the potential to do business with, right? But you guys have a couple of drinks and you talk about things that are off business. Technically, that's out of pocket, right?
That's when you see. Here's the thing: most people, and I've been in positions like this before. We all have in the entertainment industry, and you learn. At least I did. I learned how, and I paid for this in the long run. And I'm going to be honest. I always steer the conversation back to where it needs to go, right? And when you do that, you kind of put a scarlet letter on yourself. You kind of X yourself out of the playing field, so to speak. And it's going to take a little longer to get where you have to go because you don't play the game. So in essence, if you don't draw a line somewhere, always in a position like that, they're going to push to see how far they can go, right?
By they, do you mean
whoever's in the position of power? They.
Okay.
They're always going to push to see how far they can go. That equates to see how bad you really want it.
Let me ask you a question, and not pertaining to any of these situations, just life in general.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that there's ever a time that the idea that some women, not all, or some victims were with it till they weren't, buyer's remorse, over time grew ashamed of their behavior?
It gets tricky because some people go in with the mindset, I might have to engage just a little bit, right? I might have to go on a date, and I might have to do a little flirting. And people are in their minds, they in their minds, they come up with the limit of what they will and what they won't engage, right? And if you take a little bit, you end up more. Yes, as buyers, you bite more than you can chew, right? And you've got yourself in the situation in the pickle all of a sudden, right?
So, is there any accountability? I know
it's very convoluted. There is some liability in there, right? But at a certain point, you've got to know when to pull back.
And who is you? The individual that has been pushing, or
the individual that's involved? Because at a certain point, you see, okay, I'm in a tangled web here. How did I get here, right? And you can try to pull back, and make some little fine tune, draw some boundaries, right? And then that's when the repercussions start. Okay, well, you've done it this, or that's when the back and forth starts. So then that's when the liability starts to happen, I guess, when a boundary or a line is drawn in the sand about, hey.
So I just wonder, just because, and again, this has nothing to do with the cases that we're going through tonight. I just wonder, about you. At one moment, hey, yeah, I was wild back then, but now I'm an adult, and I know that wasn't cool, right? Is there any accountability?
Now, see, here's the thing. Now, if you're just wild and out there and you're engaging, right, that's a difference between I'm trying to do my job and I was touched and now I'm in a situation, right?
But it is.
So you can't, if you're knowingly, I'm wild and I'm out there and I'm engaging and I'm going on all these trips and doing all this stuff, you can't come back 20 years later and say that you were raped when you were engaging, fully aware of what you were doing.
We don't know. Well, listen, the chat is going in on
I haven't had time to read it because I just see it going, and these is paragraphs. Who these is paragraphs?
They are. It's a lot happening really quickly. Kendi says, I'm just going to say this. It's interesting that Cassie felt the need to explain her behavior as being under the influence on or in these video recordings of her. Tony Yayo says, even Marcellus Wiley, dude, not even a massive star, and I assume the accuser is a well-off professor. She is a professor. We're going to get into that on the other side. She says on an upcoming episode of The Dark Side of Comedy, Family Matters, Darius McQuarrie talks about how child actors were touched inappropriate at some point. Maybe we'll ask Darius to come on. Do that. When we come forward, we're going to get into more of the suits that have been announced today relating to that New York Survivors Act law, plus some other blotter announcements that caught us for a loop. All of that and more on the other side. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
But it's too late to turn back now. Don't know what I was thinking. Now he's no longer living, so I'm about to leave town. I didn't mean to hurt him. Could have been somebody's son. And I took his heart when I pulled out that gun.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. More than half of American voters say they or someone they live with owns a gun. An NBC News national poll shows 52% say so. That's up from 46% in 2019. Gun ownership falls along partisan lines, with 2 in 3 Republican voters saying they or someone in their household owns a gun. Less than half of independents and Democrats said the same. White voters tended to say they own guns at higher rates than Black or Latino voters. A Macomb County jury in Michigan has found a Warren man guilty of a hate crime stemming from a 2022 incident. Anthony Mangiapane was accused of shouting a racial slur and firing a shot at a black man who walked past his business. The suspect refused to come out of his building but later surrendered. Mangiapane was found guilty of assault with a deadly weapon, ethnic intimidation, and a weapons charge. He faces up to 8 years in prison. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Staples Holiday Deals mean amazing savings for the holiday season. Right now, save 50% on custom holiday cards and invitations, as well as custom photo gifts like mugs and calendars. Offer ends 12/16. Visit staples.com/print for more details. Have yourself a merry little holiday deal at Staples.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join us in celebrating the season of giving by being part of the solution. As we enjoy great food, family, warmth, and well wishes in whatever our festive tradition may be, we share the beauty of the season by reaching out to the less fortunate. Please help us to help others with the KBLA Cover the Houseless Cozy Community Coat and Blanket Drive. All you have to do is drop off new or clean, gently used winter coats and blankets in the KBLA lobby during business hours, now through December 20th. All of the coats and blankets will be donated to unsheltered individuals and families experiencing houselessness. Simply bring your donation to 4434 Crenshaw Boulevard in Los Angeles, near Vernon Avenue, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays. That's 4434 Crenshaw in historic Leimert Park. During the holidays and every day, let's remember, we keep us safe. We keep us warm. We are the safety net, and together we can cover the unsheltered. Get caught up in the spirit of the season, the spirit of love. Make a difference with your friends at KBLA Talk 1580.
The City of Los Angeles Civil Rights Department and its LA Repair Participatory Budgeting Program invite nonprofit organizations to submit proposals to turn community ideas into reality. More than $5.4 million is available to make a difference in the Arleta, Pacoima, Westlake, Skid Row, South LA, Leimert Park, and Harbor areas. Don't wait. Proposals are due on November 29th at noon. To apply, visit repair.lacity.gov. LA Repair gives people real power over real money. Visit repair.lacity.gov.
Hey Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Stay Housed LA has the resources you need to know your rights and the legal support to back them up. The COVID-19 pandemic has cost people their jobs and livelihoods. This has left an estimated 1/3 of households not being able to make rent and facing losing their homes. This is a fear no one in our community should have to face. You have rights, though, and Stay Housed LA is here to help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between the County of Los Angeles, the City of Los Angeles, and local community and legal service providers. Together, they provide tenants with the information and support needed to exercise their rights so they can remain safely in their homes. Find out more about your rights by participating in a virtual tenant workshop. Get the legal assistance you need. Find additional resources in Los Angeles County and the City of Los Angeles. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA County for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. That's stayhousedla.org. Or call their hotline at 213-694-0040. We've got your black with a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California and around the country to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. As part of JP Morgan Chase commitment, they are taking action to help improve financial wealth and access to banking in the Black community, helping more people open low-cost checking and savings accounts, hosting community seminars with supporting Black-led institutions by building awareness about financial investments, hiring community managers, and opening community center branches like Crenshaw, Inglewood, and downtown LA. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Get the tools to help reach your financial goals. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity.
curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Like I said, the chat is bubbling, but we have Fahima on the line. Fahima.
Oh my God, Fahima.
Yeah, she is calling in. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. Welcome to the show.
Greetings and salutations, beautiful people. Greetings and salutations.
Greetings.
So a couple of things, and I just wanted to say, but I'm not anything that I share is in the public domain. I'm not disclosing anything that hasn't already been reported. So, and I understand your line of questioning, very much so, Jill. But if you read in some of these cases, and I know you weren't specifically talking about any of these cases, but so, like for example, some of the Cosby cases, right? And I'll name two. We have Jewel Allison, who I happen to know. She was from Brooklyn. One of her reluctancy for coming forward and reporting, and she wrote there was an article in The Guardian. She didn't, quote unquote, want to let the black community down, and that's why she didn't say anything. There was this burden, of not wanting to be the one responsible for pulling to her tearing down a black man. So she was conflicted. And then there was Beverly Johnson's account, and so I've read many of these accounts. Like, for example, I mentioned Drew Dixon, who, and also the case with Lena Horne's granddaughter. And each of these instances, if you read the accounts, it wasn't a situation where they said, I'm going to be on the casting couch, and then they changed their mind. Now, remember Harvey Weinstein?
Well, so, Fahima, this is a thing. And it's not that when I say that as someone who, and again, not about these specific situations. I do understand how the power dynamics at play in the things. But I also say that as someone who worked in hip hop in the 90s and saw, again, not these women, not these cases. What I'm saying has nothing to do with this. Just you see a lot of things. You see some of the things that are alluded to, not specifically in these cases, just the behavior. You see some of those type of things, but then you also see women. For example, the Trevor Bauer, who was a pitcher with the Los Angeles Dodgers, who was accused of sexual assault. The woman said she choked him. Come to find out, she kind of targeted him. And, she had a plan, and she was like, yeah, I'm going to make daddy choke me out. She liked that. She told him it was okay. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Again, I'm not saying in any of these instances that is the case. And I'm also not saying that these men in power or in situations similar have not wielded their power against women that weren't in a position to say no and feel certain that there would be no repercussions to it. So I'm not implying that at all. But what I am saying, is that sometimes in these environments, I have very much seen people that I'm like, let's get it in. I'm trying to get someplace.
Right. And I did say that I know that you aren't saying that. And there are many instances where people have been violated and they just don't say anything because they chalked it up to their naivety and them just placing themselves in that situation, and it just turned out the way it was. And like if you look at some of those accounts with Harvey Weinstein, and I had a situation where a friend of mine, the guy is deceased. I just recently learned he was deceased. A friend of mine, I had gotten her a job for this gentleman. I was his preceptor at Lincoln University, and he was kind of like, he was very well connected. He was very well connected, and he had hired my friend, and he invited her for a meeting at one of the hotels, right? Mm-hmm. And so she didn't think anything of it. And then when she got there, and she didn't go up to the room, and she saw what his plans were, she cursed him out and left.
Right.
So there are instances where people they place themselves in situations not knowing what's going to transpire. And if you look at, for example, Cosby, this is Mr. Huxtable. The last thing you're going to think is he's going to try to drug and rape you.
100%. Right. No one would expect any of that.
Right. And so I read a number of these accounts, particularly with Cosby and the case with Drew Dixon. Now, I think the statute of limitations may have expired for Drew Dixon's case with Russell Simmons, but the situation, because that was back in the 90s. The situation with early 90s, the situation with this other person that she's filed claim, it's probably within that narrow window. And I don't know where Lena Horne's granddaughter, I don't think she filed any charges.
I believe she did. I believe that she was the one that filed against L.A. Reid, if I'm not mistaken. I believe.
I don't know if you remember the documentary that Oprah Winfrey was going to do on Russell Simmons and his deeds, and then she backed out of it. Mm-hmm. Both those two, Drew Dixon and Lena Horne's granddaughter, were in both of those documentaries. And I don't know, well, both of them were in the documentary. I don't know if the documentary ever saw the light of day. But anyway, that's all I wanted to share. Hey, Trent.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for calling in.
We always appreciate hearing from Fahima. She's going to make sure we're together.
Yes.
Thanks, Fahima, for calling. So let me run down a couple of these other suits that were filed really quickly. Former NFL defensive end. He used to be on Fox Sports and ESPN right here from Compton. St. Monica and Westchester High, Columbia University grad Marcellus Wiley. He's accused of raping a student at Columbia University during his time there. This was 29 years ago. She's alleging it happened when he was a freshman. The victim, a sociologist with a focus on race and culture, she filed the lawsuit in New York Supreme Court. And she said that he attacked her in the fall of 1994 when he was a sophomore and a star running back for the Columbia Lions. She said he allegedly forced himself on her in her freshman dorm room, relentlessly ignoring her verbal objections and robbing her of her virginity, an attack that would later drive her to an attempted suicide attempt. She also claims that she's now an Ivy League professor. She claims that he was protected by some of the college individuals in place and that they told her because she was a foreigner, she misinterpreted the situation. These are the things that she is alleging. And she is also alleging that there were other victims that she connected with through the school's, through the night program, and that they were covered up. Marcellus right away jumped on his YouTube and addressed the claims. His wife is currently a new member of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills cast. She is an anesthesiologist, I believe. So that's one. When we come forward, we'll get into some of the other cases and what is being alleged with them. And Trent, I know you have some commentary because you're looking like you have something to say. So I'm putting a pin in it. And when we come forward on the other side, I want to hear all your thoughts. You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
It's here. Black Friday week is live at Target. Save up to 50% on select tech and video games. Plus save up to 40% on select small appliances, up to 45% on floor care, and so much more. And get free shipping when you spend $35 or use your red card at Target.com. Hurry! These Black Friday deals end Saturday. Get low prices and great Black Friday deals. Only at Target. Exclusions apply.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. One of the questions that I have with this Marcellus Wiley one is that seems like, and again, I'm not sure if it has something to do with the Adult Survivors Act. Maybe that's why, but it seems like the school should be listed in this as well, especially as she reported it and is saying that administrators kind of moved her around.
Right.
But, you know, we see it with the bad boy cases with Harve. They're also suing the entity. So I think that is interesting, but we'll see what happens. Axl Rose of Guns N' Roses, a former model, has accused him of sexual assault from 30 years ago. Her name is Sheila Kennedy, and she's a former Penthouse model, and she alleges that Rose violently assaulted her in his New York hotel room when they met in 1989. She said she was about 26, he was 27, and according to the suit, Kennedy met him at a nightclub. He invited her to his hotel room for a party, but did not invite her friend as she wasn't cute enough to go. She says she apologized to her friend and was like, I'm out, right? And that she went back to his hotel room with another person, a future host, a guy named Ricky Rotman. He was a host on MTV back in the day for their heavy metal segments. And she claimed that Rose walked down the hallway to his Ricky's room, pushed her to the floor, and dragged her, causing her to bleed. Once in the room, he allegedly threw her on the bed, grabbed her pantyhose, tied her hands behind her back, and assaulted her in a violent rage. And so she said that she is still suffering post-traumatic stress syndrome and that she has had anxiety and depression since that incident. Her damages that she is seeking unspecified, but assault, battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and gender-motivated violence. So that's Axl Rose. Cuba Gooding Jr. is facing 2 lawsuits in New York.
From the ones that he already faced before?
No, these are new. 2 separate incidents in New York restaurants, one from 2018, one from 2019. And
can I just ask a question really quick?
Sure.
When did his other sexual harassment cases settle? Didn't they settle around the same time?
in June with a woman, he just settled in June, and a woman accused him of rape in 2013.
So he's just been on a roll.
Something's going on. So with these two stories, in 2018, a cocktail waitress who was working at Lavo, which is a restaurant and nightclub, claimed that he forced his tongue in her mouth without her consent. He also allegedly, well, no, he pled guilty to a charge related to that incident last year, and the lawsuit includes a portion of the transcript from the April 22 trial. And he admitted to the conduct. So she's requesting her name not be used, but it is related to something that was settled last year. So this is the money portion because there is a thing. In 2019, Kelsey Harbert, she said that Cuba groped her in her right breast after she sat down next to him and his girlfriend at the Magic Hour rooftop bar and lounge. She said that she grabbed his hand in order to remove it from her breast, and then he took her hand and put it to his mouth and tried to kiss it. So she filed a police report after the incident. He pled guilty, and the lawsuit included a comment from the hearing which said it was non-consensual physical contact. So that is why she is suing, right? 2020, October 2022, it was determined he had followed the terms of the plea agreement and he received no time and was placed on, a non-criminal harassment violation. So they're seeking damages for lost wages, emotional distress, punitive damages, liquidated damages, and attorney's fees. They're going to get some money because...
Yeah, because you are a perv. You're a quagmire, sir.
And was probably inebriated. That added to it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what is he on? Is it booze and coke at the same time? Because this is beyond like drunk behavior. So
have you ever seen Cuba out at a party?
I have.
Club?
So
wild business.
Yeah, it's like a college frat boy on beer.
Gloria Allard is who is representing both of those two.
Gloria Allard?
Yeah.
So it's basically a cash grab, but it's easy to do a press conference with her when the man says, I did it, and I was on a coke rage.
I did not say that.
I said it.
I know.
I mean, because, sir, what are you doing?
I mean, but again,
where is your rehab?
These cases are very different
from the other ones.
Other ones, right? Interscope co-founder Jimmy Iovine, he's facing a lawsuit over alleged sexual abuse. A woman identified as Jane Doe said that she was sexually abused, forcibly touched, and subjected to sexual harassment and retaliation. Goodness, it's a night.
Professor X.
August 2007. I mean, listen. The window was open and they are stepping through, and the music industry is different and entertainment from your typical corporate American job. Not that there's not an HR, but the environment typically is a little more
predatory.
Could be, or in some cases relaxed, right? There is certainly language or behavior that might not be considered appropriate in other areas.
Damning language.
It is certainly ripe for these type of situations and accusations to happen because it is a very free environment, let's say. Listen, Doe's attorney offered no further comment other than the summons had been filed and those small details we'll have to see. Of course, Jimmy Iovine has not released a comment as of yet, right? So if you aren't familiar with who he is, he co-founded Beats with Dre.
Mm-hmm.
He, if you saw the 2017 documentary, The Defiant Ones, which was excellent, by the way, he is the co-subject in that. He's also been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Bruce Springsteen is who brought him in, right? And we'll roll to the next one. He was just fighting for his life a couple months ago. But Jamie Foxx is being accused of a rooftop sexual assault 8 years ago in NYC. According to TMZ, this was at Catch in New York, and it was August of 2015, around 11:15. Allegedly, the woman arrived to be seated at the rooftop lounge and bar. She noticed Jamie was a table away, and she said around 1 a.m. she asked him if he would take a photo with her. She claims he said, "Sure, baby, anything for you." Seemed a little intoxicated. She claims he took more photos and commented, "Wow, you have that supermodel body. You smell so good," and told her that she looked like Gabrielle Union. She then claims he pulled her arm by the arm to the back of the rooftop area, where he allegedly placed both hands on her waist, moved them under her top, and started rubbing her breasts. She claims that she attempted to step away and noticed the security guard and others who saw what happened, but they chose not to help her and to walk away. She said that he then allegedly slid his hands into her pants, touched her inappropriately, and that her friend came over, saw what was happening, and Jamie stopped and her friend grabbed her away. She said she had to undergo medical treatment, suffered pain, emotional distress as a result of the abuse, assault, and battery. She's suing him, Catch, and the employees for compensatory and punitive damages. It's a lot, right? Quite a bit.
He was drunk.
Yeah.
Got a little touchy.
A little touchy, a little feely.
And it went to, and I'm not excusing them, but when people tell us a story, whether it's compelling or not, you know the truth when you hear it, and you can picture it in your mind as it's happening if it's, the right story being told. And I can picture all of that happening. Him drinking.
The excitement, the fun.
Yes, and you want to take a picture. She notices me. Oh, and the whole thing. And instead of just asking, "Can I kiss you?" or "Can I touch you?" you just go for it because you think that you are a star.
I think that's what used to be romantic back in the day. Listen, when we come forward, we're going to get into more of these topics. We're going to talk about Jim Iovine too and his comments, all of that and more. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. More than half of American voters say they or someone they live